Today, I'm going to teach you how to win more gunfights in Warzone 2. Now, I've got 10 tips for you today, broken down into 3 different categories: gameplay, strategy, execution, and movement. You can easily jump back and forth using the timestamps down below, but let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, we're going to start off here with gameplay strategy, focusing on 2 main things. And I've got 2 different clips that we're actually going to be taking a look at. But when we talk about gameplay strategy and winning gunfights, it's no secret that there is a lack of outplay potential in Warzone 2. So what we need to do is remove that component, remove that 50-50 scenario where you take a little bit of damage, you can't even get away from that second enemy. And how do we do that? Well, if you've been subscribed to me, you know that I talk about information and positioning. The more information you have about where people are, the easier it becomes. And you're going to see that right here. When we pop this UAV, we know exactly what we're pushing into. We're pushing into 3 enemies. They're kind of working our direction a little bit. We know exactly where they're moving to. And then from there, the second part of gameplay strategy is going to be your positioning and your approach. A lot of you tend to play more aggressive. If this is Warzone 1, TCAP and I are flying into this building, slide canceling. We're going to quickly down and thirst, and we're going to take care of this team. But in Warzone 2, we have to slow down a little bit here, remove that 50-50 scenario. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to let this guy get really far out in the open, the point of no return, right? There's nowhere this guy can go. We're able to get that first down and thirst right there. TCAP is going to go ahead and down the second enemy right here, and now we can put ourselves in that 1v1 gunfight, right? Now there is no threat of another enemy challenging right here. So we're going to hop the fence. We know exactly where he is. We're going to be able to hit shots, and there's that team wipe. So let's go ahead and take a look at positioning and information in clip number 2. So clip number 2 here for gameplay strategy, once again focusing on information and positioning. Now, TCAP and I had just completed this stronghold, so we have this permanent UAV in the area. And the other thing is, this is when Bird's Eye was still in the default loadout. So I grabbed Bird's Eye. I kind of have this super UAV going on right here. And when we focus on information and positioning, I know exactly where they are. We're going to use that permanent UAV to our advantage. But look at the positioning right here. This is going to be a really long flank. Instead of kind of pushing them like Warzone 1 and putting ourselves in that 1v1 scenario, or instead of us both sitting on top of this roof hoping we can get it down in the thirst maybe, I'm going to go ahead and start to flank all the way around. TCAP's kind of holding that angle right there. We'll pay attention to him in a second. And by the way, the other thing that I do want to mention is gameplay strategy is really the building block for Warzone 2. So as we get into like execution and movement and stuff, we're still going to tie it back to our information and our positioning. Now right here, you can actually see on the mini map, right, where they're looking. Notice how hyper-focused they are on TCAP, who is right on this rooftop over here. Now, if we're both over here and we get it down, we might not be able to get a thirst, but by removing the outplay component, by focusing on positioning, flanking all the way around, I'm able to get this guy down without him even shooting back at me. So when we talk about how do we avoid that 50-50, well, sometimes it is about drawing the fight out a little bit, flanking all the way around, being able to get that knock. Now, we still have 2 other enemies, and you notice one right here. Watch the guy drop from the building right about here. So he's going to drop from right there. You see him drop down. So I know that one is bottom level. Unfortunately, with the super UAV, you don't get levels, which makes it tougher, but you can see which way he's pushing right here. So as I get the thirst, I'm going to then focus on the right side right here, and I know that he's pushing me. Then it's about execution, which we hit headshots. Let's go to jump into execution now. So jumping into execution, this is really where we start to win more gunfights. How do you win those 50-50 scenarios? And I've got 5 main things that we're going to focus on while breaking down 4 different clips, but we're actually going to start here in a private match to talk about one of the most important things to winning more gunfights, which is going to be centering and anticipation. Now, a lot of you think you do this well, and you absolutely do not. Centering is simply putting your crosshairs where you think an enemy is going to be, both horizontally and vertically. And this is far more important in Warzone 2 than it was in Warzone 1 because of the TTK. But what I can tell you is because of the pace, it's much easier to do. Now, I want to focus on this enemy right here. Here's what a lot of you do, even with information, a UAV up, whatever it may be. When you turn this corner, your crosshairs are down at the ground, and your crosshairs may or may not be out. You probably turn like this, and then you have to react all the way up to hit chest shots, neck shots, and headshots, which is kind of tip number 2. It's crucial to winning gunfights, giving you the fastest TTK possible. What you need to be doing is, as you're turning this corner, you need to have crosshairs out, and you want to get somewhere close. Like even anywhere in this little box right here is okay, but you need to be anticipating, ready to go, so that you can be able to hit shots like that, giving yourself that reaction time and that TTK, allowing you to win that gunfight. So let's go ahead and jump into clip number 1 here. We're going to go ahead and kick this off here with a nice solo duos clip. And by the way, one thing I do want to mention here, I know a lot of you you aren't going to want to hear this, and I probably should have put this in gameplay strategy, but using meta guns will absolutely help you win more gunfights. I mean, there is a statistically proven TTK difference between guns, so you want to be paying attention to what is meta at the moment. Now, this clip, I'm using the Cast-Off 74U. Not sure if you've caught the enemy yet, but he is laying prone right here. Now, I catch him, and as I turn this corner, look at my centering. Crosshairs out, centered pretty close. It's not perfect, but I can make a small little adjustment. Now, I wasn't totally confident where he was, which is why I peeked back this way, and I do take a little damage. But that time right there, notice that I'm ready, crosshairs out, I'm already ADSing. He ends up pushing to this left side. So I'm going to anticipate where he goes next, which is right here. This is the mistake a lot of you make. I am centered, I am ready for this guy. He is not anticipating at all, which is why I'm able to break him right here before I take barely any damage. That gives me a huge advantage in this gunfight. I also mix in headshots, giving me that fastest TTK. Other thing I do want to say here is use your lethals and tacticals. Not totally relevant in this scenario besides trying to get that thirst. I do catch this guy right here. Notice going back to our building block here when we slow this down, right? So I've got positioning on this head glitch, and I catch a little bit of information here. Lethals and tacticals will really help you in terms of giving you that advantage when it comes to thirsting enemies or even just using a flash to go ahead and push in. Let's go ahead and jump into clip number 2. Now let's go ahead and up the ante a little bit with a 1v3 situation. Right here, I get caught a little bit in attack sprint, and I'm going to get fried. Now, in this moment, I expect him to chase me, and with how fast the TTK is, if he's running around this corner not anticipating me, I can easily get this down in thirst. But when he doesn't, I'm going to go ahead and retreat. Now, I want to let this play for a second. Let's just focus on centering and hitting high damage areas. I center around the corner. This guy does not anticipate. I'm able to get that down, and as I push to get the thirst, I notice enemy number 2. So we're going to go ahead and retreat. Now, I know there's at least one more enemy. I don't know if that first guy and that second guy that I saw, the one that I just saw, are on the same team. So I'm going to pull back here and play a little bit of positioning. Now, right in this moment right here, I want to focus on 3 things. 1, my positioning. Very hard target to see because of the box in the truck. I'm also a very hard target to hit with this head glitch. But number 2, look at where I'm aiming. When this guy turns the corner, look at where my crosshair is. Look at how high it is, and that allows me to hit those high damage areas, giving me that faster TTK. Centering around the corner, we're able to hit shots right there. We're able to get that down in thirst. I'm going to go ahead and thirst this guy right here, which gives me the team wipe. Let's go ahead and talk about tip number 5 here for execution. So right here, it's 3 of us pushing into a team of 2. So we're going to play this a little bit more aggressive, play this in close quarters, but we still have to execute and win our gunfights. Now, I want to take this back to the beginning with information. We had a UAV up. We knew that there were 2 people floating around here, just not 100% sure where they were. Well, sure enough, Hog finds one right there. So we know there's one on that side. I also happen to hear footsteps in this building. So now let's push forward towards execution. First thing you notice, crosshairs are out, centering is really good. All I have to do is make a small little adjustment to hit the high damage area. Other thing is meta Fennec, right? Very fast TTK, and as I hit play on this, I hit high damage areas. That guy does not have a chance. Now, we're going to go ahead and challenge enemy number 2, who Hog said is in this building. So watch the centering, watch the anticipation. Tip number 5 for winning close quarters engagements, hip fire everything. Don't even worry about it. We're just going to hip fire that Fennec right there. We're able to get that kill. I've got one more example that we're going to take a look at here. So we got another 1v2 clip right here. And by the way, this is the last one before we go into movement, but this is another scenario where we see everything pieced together. Let's start with information. 2 enemies in here. How do I know? My teammate just died to them. Positioning, right? We're going to remove the outplay dynamic of having to challenge both of them at the same time. So we're going to play a little bit of high ground right here. We're able to get that down and thirst with the Vaznev, which is absolutely a great SMG to run. Now we're going to go ahead and play a little bit more aggressive. He precisions. Watch this centering and anticipation right here, as well as the hip fire before you ADS. This is the example I really wanted to show you when it comes to hip firing before you ADS, because look at this. Guys, I should not be able to do this. Look how big my crosshair is, yet I am not missing a single bullet. We throw in a little bit of movement there, which we're going to jump into, hit some high damage areas, and we're able to easily 1v2. Let's go ahead and jump into movement here. So now let's go ahead and talk about movement. We're going to be breaking down 4 different clips while really focusing on 3 main movements. And when we talk about movement, all we're really talking about is taking less damage in gunfights, and that allows you to win that situation. So clip number 1 here, let's talk about the most basic movement you could do, strafing left and right. Now right here, I get the break. Go back to what I said about execution. Use your lethal and tactical. So I'm going to throw my Semtex, see if I can get that down, and when I don't, then I decide to push up. And as I mantle right here, this is where we begin. This is a brutal 50-50. Literally, who can hit more shots? Strafing allows you to take less damage. It also increases aim assist for my controller players, but look at the shots to the left that he is missing. That gives me the window that I need to be able to get that down in thirst. And when you play it in full speed, you see just how quick this happens. And also execution-wise, look at the headshots that I'm able to mix in. That is why I'm able to win that gunfight. And then what I end up doing is throwing double smokes. Smokes are great tactical to use for this reason right here. Smokes do give us a little bit of outplay. That allows me to get back to this building and then figure out my next play. So let's go ahead and jump into clip number 2 here. Now, sometimes good movement is just simple movements in advanced combinations. And in this situation, I get caught completely out in the open, and he gets caught completely missing his snipe. So right here, this is a pretty even fight. You know, 1v1, 50-50, who can execute better? So we're going to go ahead and push up a little bit. First thing to highlight is my centering right here. One of the biggest parts of execution. As I turn the corner, I'm ready for him. I catch his toe right there, so I make the adjustment, and when he moves, I readjust vertically so that I am ready for him to peek right here. You can see that I'm ready to hit high damage areas. Now, 2 main things that I want to highlight. First, my movement is going to be a jump and a strafe, or a strafe and a jump. One of those 2 combinations, doesn't matter which one you do first, but basically makes you a harder target to hit. He decides to drop shot. I don't like drop shotting. Here's why. It leaves your head very susceptible. If somebody hits headshots, that is an incredibly fast TTK, so it's a little bit of high risk, high reward. So I'm going to strafe, jump, just to take a little bit less damage there, and I am able to get that kill. So let's go ahead and speed this up. I'll show you just how quick it happens. Centering around the corner, he's going to re-peek, and watch the strafe to the jump. And that little jump at the end is just a jump so that he hits my toes towards that end, and that gives me a little bit faster TTK. Let's go ahead and jump into clip number 3 here. So clip number 3 here is a nasty 1v2. We've talked about strafing, we talked about jumping while shooting. Let's talk about jump peeking corners right here, and we are going to break both of these enemies' cameras, which, yes, you can still do that in Warzone 2. So as we pull this back right here, you're going to see me kind of get a glimpse of this initial guy. Now, breaking cameras in Warzone 2 is very similar to Warzone 1. Step number 1 is going to be your tac sprint, right? We've got to get that tac sprint right here. Step number 2 is going to be a jump peek. We could slide cancel in Warzone 1. We can't do that here, so we have to jump peek this corner. Step number 3 is the most important thing when jump peeking. When you jump peek the corner, you ADS significantly slower. So we have to hip fire before we ADS. We see that right there. We're able to hit high damage areas. Now we go immediately challenge enemy number 2 here. Once again, hip fire, we can track him. Let's go to watch it full speed just so you see how quick this happens. And then I'm actually just going to let clip number 4 roll for you. You're going to see a little bit of everything for that. It's a really good 1v3 scenario. We jump peek there. We jump peek again. So as the last clip is playing right here, I hope you found today's video helpful. If you are struggling to win gunfights, come back to this video. Review the 10 things that we talked about. Information and positioning, centering your crosshairs, using metal weapons, hitting high damage areas, using lethals and tacticals, hip firing before you ADS, and then of course the 3 movements: strafing, jumping while shooting, and jump peeking corners. As I always say, let's get better today, and I will see you tomorrow.